What is going on, guys? Tavares here. Sorry to disappoint you. I had every intention of having an episode with a guest this week. She was giving so much wisdom that I had to bring her back on. But the issue was there was a thunderstorm. I don't even know if I could call it a thunderstorm because Florida's weather is just unpredictable. But the storm cut us out in the middle of it, and my computer erased all of the content. And now it is storming again right now when I'm recording, so last minute. So I hope this does not happen. But today I just want to talk about a few things that, I asked my followers on my personal account, hey guys, send in some suggestions because I have to do a last minute thing. What are some things you want to hear about? And they sent in a few good ones. But one that I want to touch on before I dive a little bit further into the episode, you guys may have saw the title. I'll probably put it in the thumbnail or anything like that in regards to breaking up. But I want to touch a little bit on the Matt Chandler situation. A lot of people are, I feel like, using it for clickbait, using it, kind of to bash the church. I've noticed some TikTok videos of people that used to be in church are using this as ammo. Another pastor gets into a little bit of a little dilemma and, tarnishes the, God's name, well, you can't ruin God's reputation, but, makes the church look bad by his actions. But what I want to make clear regarding this is I think there are some lessons that we can learn from it. And two, we shouldn't be in such a rush to talk about things because I don't believe anyone knows all the details. So for people who are rushing to use Matt Chandler's name to boost their page and, boost their TikTok, shame on you. You should be ashamed of yourself. But I realize there's a link, and I'll put it in the description box if anybody wants to, but it says Matt Chandler steps aside after inappropriate online relationship. And I'm just looking at it like, what? So I watched the video. I'm not putting the video in here. I'll probably put a link to the video as well. Feel free to look it up. But Matt Chandler mentions that there was a woman who confronted him in, I believe, their church's lobby. And basically she said was, hey, I don't like the conversations you're having with my friend. And he's a bit thrown off by it because he's looking at it like I'm not doing anything inappropriate, by messaging, the friend. But what he does is he makes his wife know about it. He makes the church leadership know about it. And, it's not like any one of them found anything inappropriate that they could say. But the problem was, I guess he was too casual with the conversation, one could say. But that is such an alarming thing for people to attack him because to me it looks as though it does not matter what a person does. We're going to bash them. We're going to ridicule them. So if the pastor doesn't respond to people, he thinks he's too famous. He doesn't want to talk to anyone. But if the pastor does talk to people, now we're talking about the pastor's flirting with them. So now I'm not going to use my judgment and say anything he said was right or anything he said was wrong. But looking at the article, it mentioned that he brought the situation to his church. It makes it clear that, he wanted to make sure that he stayed above reproach. And, the church found, that that's not acceptable. So he's, I guess, taking like a leave of absence. But there was a private investigator to, or like a lawyer or something hired, to ensure that no type of scandal or abuse was happening in the church. But it just shows something that I believe that we need to take in consideration because, number one, your position doesn't make you exempt from falling. I think that's something whereas I learned without being in, outside of leadership roles that I've been in is the fact that people, when they realize they can trust you, people talk to you a lot. But just because, people can trust you doesn't mean, we can trust our flesh. Like I said in last week's episode, your flesh is not your friend. So even if we start a friendship, we're not looking to engage in anything inappropriate. If we don't guard ourselves, it can escalate. So what I want to say in regards to his leadership at his church, it's very encouraging to me to see that this church has a system whereas people can address the leadership without them getting fired or address the leadership without them getting, told they don't know what's going on. Because I've seen churches now whereas the pastor can do whatever he wants. The pastor can tell people whatever they want. No one can correct the pastor. But this is, I believe, how God wants things done. Whereas the pastor can be corrected. The pastor can be told, hey, you're out of line and be correct. And then still have that humility. So I don't know about anything. I'm not saying this guy is spotless. I'm not saying God is pleased with his actions. But I will say as a married man, I realized like that's somewhere you can easily find yourself. So for those of you who are in relationships, or you're not in a relationship but you're in any type of leadership role, I want to start this episode off by making it clear that you have to guard yourself. You have to use wisdom, because you can easily fall just the way he could have fell. And I know that from experience, where as you get too comfortable, and next thing you know, your conversations went from talking about God to talking about bodies and talking about sex and all kind of other things. So before I start getting to the other questions that people ask, let me give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, one of today's sponsors. Now, if you're a person who constantly struggles with falling asleep, or you're a person who, when you're starting your day, you're probably rushing for your phone, maybe that's just for social media, I want to suggest to you the Abide app. So it's a meditation app that's based off scripture. So as you can see, that's here on my phone. And then right when you go on it, there's so many different topics and subjects that you could not only learn from, but help you just to recenter and get back focused on God. Abide is the #1 Christian meditation app, and people have reported less stress because of this. Even if you're a person who only believes you want some type of white noise that just helps you focus when it's time to study, sleep, or anything along those lines, I believe it's a great help. And for a limited time, our listeners will get 25% off their premium subscription when you text 22433, text the word godly. Again, that number is 22433, godly. Get started with 25% off your premium subscription by texting that number, texting godly to 22433. You'll get additional stories, meditation, different music, soothing sounds, whatever it is that you're looking for. But I believe it will be a great help to get you back centered on your day. Peace. All right, so if any parts of these edits seem a little bit crazy, it's probably because I had to shut the computer down and start over. It's because I'm trying to escape the thunderstorm doing it to our recording again today. But for me, forgetting to say it in the beginning, for all of you who have not pre-ordered this beautiful book, look at the level of perfection. If you guys are just listening to the audio, just listen to my voice. Just trust me. It is God's will for you to purchase this book. If you don't believe it's for yourself, it is for someone you know. Trust me. And some of you guys, you think because you're dating, you're married, you're engaged, you're divorced, you're 50, you think you don't need it. But this book has something for people of all ages. So, godlydating101book.com. Go on Amazon, go wherever you find books, and be sure to pre-order that. You still have the benefits that you'll get if you order it before September 13th. If you order it after September 13th, then, I'm happy. But you won't get all the benefits, and the study guides and all those things that come prior. And for today's episode. So this is when I'm talking about how to end a relationship. We're not talking about, if you're not sure this is, if God wants you to end it or not. I think this episode is for people who know it's time to end a relationship, but they don't really know how to navigate it, what to do after. So I want to mention a little bit of points that you need to focus on. But I really want people to be sure that you're ending this relationship for the right reasons. Like there are doctrinal differences. Not like differences in like how Safa and I argued once about how spaghetti, well, I argued and Safa was just annoyed, but argued how spaghetti was made. No, that's not a deal breaker. But doctrinal differences, yeah, you need to end a relationship when you realize they're believing something that's kind of off balance and you can't convince them that that's, in error. You need to end it when they're not being respectful. You need to end it when you're not being treated right, when you're not being respected, your biblical values are being compromised, things along that line. And I want to make it clear because there's a bit of a weird thing that happens with social media. And I know I've probably been guilty of it, people, because it's so hard for me to say everything in a post. That's why I'm always thankful when people listen to the podcast, because it gives me the chance to voice my opinion and not just, get a little soundbite from a post. But we often tell people to leave what's no longer serving them. If that person is draining you, leave them. And it's like, to me, that's true for the most part. You shouldn't stay in areas where are dead. A flower is not going to bloom without sunlight. It's not going to bloom without being watered. You have to be in the right environment in order to thrive. I get that. No one is saying, that's completely false. But there are some times where healthy relationships can feel frustrating. It was a time when Jesus also said, Father, why did you forsake me? Jesus was never forsaken. But there are times in a relationship where you can feel as though everything is bad. And if you make a decision based off how you feel temporarily, you can eventually step outside of God's calling for your life because you were chasing comfort. You can be in a good relationship, but because everyone else on social media, if he was a good man, all of social media says he had to do TikTok dances and hip movements, and if he didn't bring this amount of flowers, he's not a good man. And because we've allowed our minds to be conditioned by what people say on social media rather than seeing their character, we leave relationships that God probably wanted us in. So we can't just jump from person to person anytime we feel as though we're frustrated or things are difficult. We have to constantly learn to strive for, exercising patience, exercising forgiveness, mercy, grace, all those things. And that doesn't mean you're settling for a negative relationship. So I want to mention a few things that you need to do when it's time for you to end it, or you're about to end it, or you just ended it. A couple of things for you to keep in mind. I'll be answering a few questions tonight, so I'm not going to stay long on this. But number one, don't allow your emotions to keep you there. I've met so many people. Listen, I've been in these shoes. Whereas this relationship is done, checked out, there's nothing here for you. But because your emotions, you feel trapped. Like, let's use Samson for an example, right? If Samson realizes that the first time this woman asks for my secret, she tries to get me killed. Okay, well, the second time is, they're trying to break the riddle. They're trying to do all these things. And Delilah's like, hey, tell me where you get your strength from. And because he tells her a lie, he almost gets himself killed. If he would have told her the truth, that's common sense, he would have died. But we see a second time, that Samson allows himself to get tricked. And now Samson is weary because she keeps bugging him. And Samson does what any foolish person would do. All right, man, you're getting on my nerves. Let me just tell you. So our emotions, I believe it was Samson's emotions that allowed him to stay in a relationship, even though he saw the heart and the fruit of the relationship. He saw that, hey, I tell this person something, they try to harm me. Hey, when I try to do whatever it is God has called me to do, they are doing the opposite. So if you see you're in a relationship like that, don't allow emotions to keep you there. Because in my opinion, at no point does it show us, Samson, kind of, resenting Delilah, but it shows us that he's entertaining this woman, even though we're looking out for her own best interest from the Philistines. She's working against him, but he stayed there. I think emotions will keep people trapped. And it's not healthy, but you're so addicted to the feelings of the past. The relationship was abusive, but you're trying to remember all the times they were kind to you. All the times they spoke down on you, but you're staying there because you're like, well, I remember, when things were nice. You're allowing emotions to lie to you. People always say, follow your heart, man. Your heart is never going to lead you astray, but it will. Jeremiah 17:9 says, the human heart is the most deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who really knows how bad it is? See, God makes it clear to us that I don't know how bad my heart is. And that's why I let people know, because I'll try to say, well, I won't go too far, or I won't make this mistake again. And I tell myself these things, but I don't realize how negative my heart is if God isn't directing me. That's why the Bible says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. He's going to direct your path. Proverbs 3:5. So God wants to order our steps, because when we allow emotions to guide us, we sometimes stay trapped. So if you're realizing that it's time to end a relationship, you have to make sure that God has brought liberty to your emotions. You have to make sure that God has brought freedom, because your heart will tell you to stay in a relationship because everybody's in a relationship. So now your heart is following a trend. Your heart will tell you to stay in this relationship even though it's toxic, because your heart is chasing comfort. This is all your heart really knows. So your heart will chase comfort, and your heart will confuse dysfunction with peace, and you're not even realizing you're settling for something that excludes God, because you just have to be in a relationship. And your heart will tell you to choose things that are temporal, things that are satisfying my flesh right now. When you talk to a lot of people, there aren't people that'll tell you, yeah, man, I want to fornicate. Church, people that actually love God, but their heart will keep them with a person that knows that person is lustful, knows that person is always being inappropriate. So that's why you can't follow your heart. You cannot allow emotions to lead you, to keep you there. Second thing is, don't be that person that blames God for the breakup if that's not the truth. And I need to be clear, man, because I've met so many people who just like, yeah, man, God just said I felt it in my spirit, it's something about what God just whispered into my spirit that we need to break up. And then the person, who's going to argue with God? You know what I'm saying? So the person looking at it like, I respect that, I understand that, God wanted us to break apart, only to find out that you're getting engaged in a week after we broke up. You're already dating someone else after we broke up. You're bashing me when we broke up. All of those things, when all you could have done was says, this relationship is over. You know what I mean? Just make it clear. I'm not liking the direction of this relationship. And I think that's a lot of times we try to over spiritualize things rather than just being mature adults. Just let people know, like, hey, I enjoyed your company, but going forward, I don't believe we're on the same page. I don't believe this is God's will for my life. But don't say God told me, because there's some people that use that nonsense and they're like, I just need to focus on my walk with God in this season, only to realize that God ain't telling them nothing. They're just too scary to say, no, I'm not interested. I mean, I understand you got to be delicate with people's emotions because you don't want to offend people, but it offends someone more when you have to lie. Just give them the blatant, honest truth. You can give someone the blunt, honest truth without being disrespectful. I don't know why people are scared to. I'm a blunt person. Maybe that's the reason why it's easier for me. And the third thing I will say is, when you know it's time to break up, do not leave the door open. I've done this so many times. Yeah, these are things we need to stop saying, because I know I've said it. Yeah, just not right now. You're a great girl, but I just don't see this happening right now. Ladies are telling guys, man, if it wasn't a different season of life, you know what I mean, it would have worked out perfectly. This season isn't the best, but we don't know what the future holds. And next thing you know, you left the door open. So now this brother's over here thinking he has a chance. Now sis is thinking, well, do I hold on? You know how many people message me or set up video calls trying to get a conversation going saying, well, do I wait on him? Is he serious? Is this, is that? And it's just like, that's not going to give that person the peace and the clarity they need to move on with their life. You cannot allow somebody to place their life on hold because you need to figure things out. That's not fair. After we work on some things, but we could try this again. No. Our generation has a bad habit of placing commas where God has put a period. God has already said, hey, that chapter of your life is done. Time for you to pick up a new chapter and read a book called Godly Dating 1, Discover the Truth About Relationships in the World That Constantly Lies. Maybe that's the book that God is telling you to read now. And stop repeating the chapter on your ex. Stop repeating the chapter on dysfunction, but go to something different. Be willing to stick with that decision. For some of you, I understand this may not be easy, but I think a lot of times when it's not easy, it could be one of two things that's happening to people. Number one, you're wrestling with a soul tie. Some people don't believe they're biblical. I strongly believe that they're biblical. To me, it's just basically an unhealthy emotional attachment that you've formed with someone that you can't separate from, and typically a lot of people think that only happens through sex, but I don't believe soul ties only happen through sex. I believe that when you allow your emotions, your spirit to invite certain people into your life, personalities into your life, they bring, I don't want to say their energy, you know what I mean? Because I'm not one of these new age people, but they bring that same spirit that they operate with, they bring it into your life. Maybe I sound even spookier than the new age people by saying that, but you have to understand that people walk with a spirit, and you cannot allow your spirit to be left open to that. But any person who does have any type of bondage in their life, Isaiah 10:27 says, and it shall come to pass in that day that this burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder, and his yoke from off thy neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. So whatever chains you have in your life, God is able to break it. Whatever stronghold, whatever person you were dating, man, no, we just had so many kids. We used to have sex. That stronghold just can't be broken. No, any chain in your life can be broken. Any of you listening to this with a stronghold to any addiction, to pornography, to any of those things, God can break it, because it's not by might, not by power, but it's by the Spirit of God. It's only the anointing that can destroy the yokes in your life. So we have to rely on God. The Bible says, now the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. So no matter what you are facing, God has the ability to break those chains in your life. God has the ability to set you free from that. And the second reason why some people, they don't break free from it is because of fear. I believe some people would genuinely not give in to fear, would not stay in bad relationships if they weren't so afraid of what people would think about them. Like, how do I break up the engagement? I know this is no longer God's will for my life, but how do I stop an engagement when all of social media knows about it? Man, I wish I would have got his video. I saw a powerful video, a quick little reel on Instagram by my boy Jerry Flowers. And he was talking about how people, they get to the altar, ready to get married, and they know it's not God's will, but they're thinking about what everybody's going to say and judge them. And there are a lot of people stay in bad marriages, bad relationships, bad all kinds of things, because they're worried more so about what people are saying rather than what God is saying. Man, I ain't saying God is condoning divorce, but I'm saying we have to be careful that we're not allowing ourselves to to be driven by the emotions or allowing what people are saying to paralyze us, to cripple us, because a lot of people are being driven by fear, and that's not God's will for your life. So let me see. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So whatever you're dealing with, understand that God has not given you a spirit of fear. And if you're allowing yourself to be driven by that, then that is a huge problem. And now for a quick word from our second sponsor. Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Now, it's very difficult to choose who you want to marry when you've been so used to dysfunction and toxic relationships your entire life. But in reality, many of us, we don't know how to spot that because there are a lot of hidden issues within ourselves that we need to unpack and we need to heal from. Now, many of us, you may have gone to church and you haven't healed. Why? Because you probably need a professional, a counselor that can speak with you so you can get to the root of why you keep ending up in the same relationships over and over. If you're that type of person who desires a healthy relationship, a godly relationship, and you know you have some things that you need to fix, I want to recommend BetterHelp to you. I believe that they're a great resource because they're completely online. It's affordable. They'll pair you with a counselor. And if you're not even interested in that person, they can switch you to someone else. It makes the process extremely easy for you. So when you want to be a better problem solver or a person who's choosing the spouse that you're going to marry, therapy can help get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/godly to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/godly. Peace. Another question that people reached out and sent in, I'm not going to do all the questions, but the person left one that I thought was very worthwhile noting. It says, what happens when a person seems right, but their family is against the relationship? I'll be very quick with this response, so unfortunately, if you guys want me to dive into detail, I will get into that and probably get a guest who can admit that they've been in this scenario, because thankfully I wasn't. I love my wife's family. My wife's family loves my family, so it worked out perfectly. But number one, you need to understand that you do risk, keeping this relationship and now being isolated from your family. So if you're a person that's only like 18, 19, 20, still depending on parents, whether you're 30 or whatever, but you're still dependent on parents for your financial income and all those things, I say you probably might need to listen to them because you don't want to push away. How are you going to live? You can't just move in with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. At least, biblically speaking, I don't think that's a recipe for success. It's kind of sound like a recipe for sin. But I want you to understand that, unfortunately, a lot of people that I know have been isolated from their family because they didn't choose the right person. So you have to understand that is a negative outcome. So it depends on who your family is, but be careful of that. Second thing is, you can check to see why your family is against it, because I think some people's family is just against everyone. No one is good enough for my son. No one is good enough for my daughter. No one is good enough for my sister. So if you have those type of family members, you need to ignore them, because unfortunately they'll try to control your life. But on the flip side, a lot of you need to be willing to listen to your family members, because a lot of your family members will see the blind spots that you don't see. A lot of people say love is blind. Love is not blind, but infatuation is. A lot of times we get ourselves and our hearts so wrapped up into how beautiful the person is, how they make us feel, that we don't realize that this person is low-key trash. Like, you're not spiritual at all. You don't treat people right at all. You are selfish. You are mean. You are snobby. You give everyone an attitude but the person you're dating. Your family will spot that. Your friends will spot that. So if your family sees that and they tell you we don't like the character and how they carry themselves, that's something worth noting, because a lot of times people rush into relationships and they aren't seeing the red flags. They just go right past it, and then they're asking God to change their spouse 5 years from now. Not a wise decision. And the last thing I'll say about that is, if you're a person who has kids, because I know a lot of you, and I reached out to someone, for a lot of you who are in these shoes, somebody who's getting remarried, I'm not one to talk about that subject, because in my opinion, I'm just looking at it like, well, I know what some people say, but I feel as though Jesus ain't really approving of nothing unless it was specific scenarios. But for people that are getting remarried or people who already have kids, I think when it comes to you find yourself in these shoes, you really need to listen to your kids when your kids say they don't like someone. Because there are a lot of kids who won't verbalize it, but there are some reasons they may not feel comfortable sharing in regard. And some of you've been there, so you know what I'm talking about. But I have a friend of mine, she doesn't listen to the podcast, so she's not going to know that I'll mention this, but I have a friend of mine who literally just blasted, a step-parent on social media for abusing them throughout their childhood. None of us knew that growing up. But that's the thing. we just knew you didn't like that dude. We just knew you weren't fond of him. But in reality, a lot of parents don't realize their kids have been warning them about the type of person they're with. They're looking at me a certain way. It makes me feel gross. So parents, if you're one of those people, I understand it's harder for you to date, but that's something you need to take into consideration. And somebody said the importance of consecration. That was one of the questions. That's the last one I'll do because we're creeping up on 30 minutes. But I thought it was such a great question, but I understand, I want to put it towards dating. So number one thing I'll say is you don't want your relationship to be based off sex. So that's why I think consecration, which also means purity, set apart, ready for God's use. The Bible mentions, being meat for the master's use. So in order to be an instrument of righteousness, in order to be an instrument that God can be pleased with, because understand this, a lot of people who are in church, number one, a lot of people who are in church are not going to heaven. Everybody's not in a relationship with God. A lot of people who are going to heaven aren't pleasing God on earth. It sounds like I'm not confused. I'm saying there's a lot of people, you're saved, but it doesn't mean you allowed yourself to be consecrated for God's purpose. When Joseph was tempted by Potiphar's wife, she's just like, hey man, sleep with me, dude. Like, nobody's around. Joseph was like, how am I going to do this wicked thing and sin against God? Joseph didn't say, how am I going to do this and insult Potiphar? How am I going to do this and the guards might hear? No, his mentality was, how can I do this and sin against God? Somebody with that mentality is who God can elevate to be second in command, because he showed that I have the integrity to be entrusted with God's anointing. So when God calls us into relationship, he also calls us towards consecration. So we have to understand that you don't want a relationship with somebody who's allowing a relationship to be built off physical attraction, lust, perversion, stuff like that. Because if they're respecting your purity, they'll respect you in general. Typically, that's how it works. If a person is not respecting your walk with God, they're not going to care about anything else. So it's important to have somebody who's aiming to be consecrated in a relationship. The second thing I'll say about consecration is that when we involve God in our relationship, he helps us, number one, honor him, honor one another, and he allows us the ability to be an example to others. So when I meet people, I don't introduce myself as, hey, I started a page called GD101. But, because people have me on social media at school, so a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but a few people in class are talking about it now and harassing me, acting like I'm a celebrity or something. But a lot of people feel as though, like, man, that's weird. Like, I don't want to really talk about, kingdom type stuff with my unsaved friends. They'll look at me like I'm a creeper. But in reality, this page has opened the door, whereas I can witness to people. I can invite people to church. I can talk about God with people. We have to understand that people are paying attention to our relationships. So while they may have been thinking, oh, we're only seeing Tavares and Safa, they're also seeing us talking about God. And I believe that in any relationship you're in, whether you're a pastor or not, whether all you do is sweep or not, whether all you do is attend church or not, whether all you do is read GD101. I'm not going to say or not, because you need to read GD101. I'm going to count the amount of people that watch this video and listen to this episode. And if I don't see the number of sales go up by that exact amount, I'm going to do nothing, but I will be disappointed. Anywho, but I want you to understand that people examine our lives. Paul said in Corinthians that we're epistles written before men, meaning there are people that aren't reading the Bible, but they're reading you. So I can tell people, hey, love God, love people. I can tell you, run away from sin. But the moment they also see in my relationship that I'm yelling at Safa, I'm disrespecting her, I'm talking down on her, they're looking at it like, what gospel is he preaching if he's disrespecting his wife? That's why it's important to be consecrated, because the Bible says in Matthew 5:16, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Now, everybody who sees you living a godly life is not going to turn to God. But every person who sees you is not going to have an excuse before God, because they saw what it meant to live for him. So I believe that your relationship should be one that inspires other people, not just to have a godly relationship, but to have a walk with God. That's the most important thing. So whenever we're in these scenarios, we have to understand that we're not trying to be consecrated for an office. We're not trying to be consecrated for a leadership role, but we need to be consecrated to hear God's voice, to be sensitive to God's will. Because it's impossible to hear God's voice if you're spending no time with him. It's impossible to please him while avoiding him. So we have to make sure that we keep God as the main focus in our lives. So in episodes like this, unfortunately, I had to rush. I wish I could get my guest back next week, but I see it failed miserably. I didn't get I wasted all her time. By the time we got to the end of the episode, the power cut off and removed our content. But hopefully we can get our guests back, man. And another guest, I had to cancel that because I thought their spirit was wrong. I'm sorry. I don't like everyone on our channel. I want to share people that I believe will greatly impact your life to help you live for God. So if you're listening to the end of this episode, do me a favor. My birthday passed and Christmas is coming up. Go ahead and buy one or 8. If you are a person that follows this page, because there's so many of you that have randomly sent money, do not send me $100. Buy 100 books or whatever is the equivalent, But I love you guys. I'll see you again next week. Peace.